Today we're going to be taking a look at one of the most beloved, innocent, and selfless characters of the entire series, Dobby. Dobby, the big-hearted house elf, makes his first appearance in the Chamber of Secrets, when he enters the home of number 4 Privet Drive at perhaps the worst moment imaginable, the same day that Vernon Dursley, Harry's terrible uncle, is having a very important business dinner. Dobby did, however, act with good intentions, and from this moment onwards, he continued to win over our hearts with each subsequent appearance. He brought so much to the series with hilarious lines, helped our hero through his journey, and is one of the most loyal and honest characters in the series. However, despite being a fan favourite, Dobby was severely underrepresented in the films, and actually had a much larger presence in the books. Join me today as we discuss the origins of Dobby, finally giving him the spotlight he deserves. Hey everyone, welcome to another installment of Harry Potter Theory. Before we get into the origins of Dobby, I want to first tuck into a bit of house elf history, as this better sets the stage for Dobby's introduction. History of house elves. We're first introduced to the concept of house elves in the same moment that Harry meets Dobby, the resident house elf of the Malfoy family and Malfoy Manor. Through this introduction, we discover that the upper class of the wizarding world all seem to own house elves, elves who are magically bound to serve their masters and work in servitude for well-to-do wizarding families without compensation. One of the most noteworthy traits of house elves is their unwavering loyalty towards their masters. They take their duty of serving their masters seriously, and will go to extreme lengths to accomplish the task assigned to them. This loyalty also signifies their strong values of honor and commitment. Their tasks range from cleaning to cooking and running errands, all without question, and in the Goblet of Fire, at least the novel version, we're introduced to even more house elves, the ones employed by Hogwarts. And so very early on it becomes abundantly clear that the very existence of house elves is based around servitude, with many of them locked into a kind of magical enslavement as they're passed down from one generation of a wizarding family to the next. We also come to discover that the only way they can escape their enslavement is if their master gives them a piece of clothing. This aspect of house elf servitude is put on display in the Chamber of Secrets when Harry helps Dobby to secure his freedom from Lucius Malfoy and the Malfoy family. But now you might be wondering, when did all of this begin? Where did house elves come from, and why do they serve wizards? Unfortunately, the honest truth is that we do not know. This does, however, leave the door wide open for speculation, and I've got a few theories to present to you. One popular theory among fans is that house elves are actually a creation of wizard kind, made with magic for the express purpose of serving magical high society. The issue with this theory, however, is that elves are a long-standing and prevalent race among other works of fiction. If J.K. Rowling had decided to create a wizard-made creature, I don't see why she would have recycled a creature that's so common among other magical universes. Furthermore, the fact that house elves are called house elves in the first place would suggest that there are also other kinds of elves. If other elves do in fact exist freely in the wizarding world, then it makes it even less likely that they are a creation of wizard kind. Another theory, which takes into account genetic traits, evolution, and natural selection, is that house elves were simply domesticated by wizards. Imagine this: long ago, deep within the enchanting forests and hidden realms of the wizarding world, witches and wizards first encountered a rare and undocumented species known as wild elves. These elves, unlike their domesticated counterparts, possessed a fiery spirit of freedom and an untamed magic that defied conventional wizarding practices. And by employing a combination of enchantments and gentle persuasion, wizardkind gradually began to teach the wild elves the ways of the wizarding world. However, spellbound by their unique powers and the potential for an extraordinary alliance, wizards sought to bring these wild beings into their lives, not as equals, unfortunately, but instead as loyal companions and helpers. And in exchange for the shelter, care, and guidance offered by wizardkind, the elves gradually relinquished their freedom and embraced their roles as loyal household assistants. I imagine it could have started as more of an informal arrangement, in which wizards offered protection to elves and, in return, elves helped out around the house. Perhaps it started innocently enough with preparing a meal or two, or making the beds at the beginning of the day. But then, over time, it's possible that the elves who provided witches and wizards with better service were in turn treated better. The more independent-minded elves may have been cast out and possibly killed off without the protection of wizards, or simply left without much opportunity in the way of finding a mate. After all, like many other species, it's not impossible to imagine that an elf with a job was more desirable to a potential spouse than one with no prospects. From there, it's possible that wizards further manipulated the evolution of elves by breeding the most obedient and docile of the species with each other. After all, wizarding households only seem to have one elf at a time. And this theory does tick a lot of boxes for me. Given that house elves have historically demonstrated such an extraordinary mastery of magic, I've always wondered why they would be so inclined to serve wizard kind. This last theory does a pretty good job of explaining that. Now onto Dobby. Dobby was born into enslavement to the Malfoy family, specifically Lucius, Narcissa, and their son Draco. His unwavering loyalty and sense of justice set him apart, even in the face of consistent mistreatment by his masters. In their home, the Malfoy Manor, Dobby endured a life filled with cruelty and abuse, subjected to extra punishments and constant threats for any perceived transgressions. Dobby once told Harry Potter that he received death threats 5 times a day. However, despite obeying their orders, Dobby knew deep down that their behavior was unjust and desperately wished to be free from their control. Because of this, he became the first house elf to defy his master's wills by warning Harry about the Chamber of Secrets. In this bold act of defiance, his boldness and integrity shone through, as he risked everything to do what he knew was right, even in the face of grave consequences. Dobby's unwavering spirit and courage made a lasting impression, setting him apart as a revolutionary figure among house elves. And what truly set Dobby apart from other house elves was that he harbored a deep desire for freedom. He didn't enjoy having a master, and these simple facts set Dobby apart from a species that was very possibly bred to serve. While serving the Malfoys, Dobby one day overheard Lucius's plans to reopen the Chamber of Secrets, a secret hidden chamber in Hogwarts Castle where a student had died the last time it was opened. Because the Malfoys viewed Dobby as a mere insignificant slave, assuming that house elves were incapable of defying their master's commands, they never anticipated that he would try to intervene. And throughout the same summer, Dobby spent his time covertly spying on Harry Potter. However, on the day of Harry's 12th birthday, he did catch a glimpse of eyes peering out from the hedges. Dobby, despite not knowing Harry, was concerned for his safety, and ended up defying his masters on numerous occasions in order to keep the boy safe. And so one day, Dobby made a visit to the Dursley house. During this encounter, he confessed to intercepting Harry's mail and withholding letters from his friends, hoping to make him believe that his friends had forsaken him. Dobby felt compelled to impose severe punishment upon himself for warning Harry against returning to school. When Harry inquired about the reason, Dobby struggled to divulge the truth, torn between his loyalty to his masters and his desire to prevent Harry from facing further hardship. However, despite Dobby's pleas, Harry staunchly refused to comply, asserting that Hogwarts was his true home. Harry Potter must not go back to Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry this year. Desperate to prevent Harry from going back to school, Dobby levitated the cake made by Harry's aunt in a misguided attempt to dissuade him. He anticipated that this incident would not only provoke the ire of Harry's aunt and uncle, but also prompt intervention from the Ministry of Magic. And unfortunately for Harry, this act of magic did catch the attention of the Ministry of Magic through the trace detection. In response to the magic used at the Dursley residence, Harry received a warning letter from Mafalda Hopkirk, an official from the Improper Use of Magic Office, for the alleged violation of underage wizardry. Dobby hoped that this would result in Harry's expulsion, but to his dismay, Harry merely received a warning from the ministry. And this was just Dobby's first attempt to keep Harry safe and prevent him from attending Hogwarts. After the cake fiasco, Harry found himself confined to his room. However, fortunately for Harry, Ron, Fred, and George Weasley showed up in their father's mysterious flying car, arriving just in time to save him from his unjust confinement. At this stage, Dobby devised yet another scheme to thwart Harry's journey to Hogwarts, plotting to steal the barrier leading to Platform 9 3/4. This obstruction was intended to prevent Harry and Ron from boarding the train. However, Dobby's plan once again faltered, as Harry and Ron managed to reach the school using Arthur Weasley's enchanted flying car. Dobby harbored hope that his plan had succeeded, only to discover later that Harry had still made it to Hogwarts. In his shock, Dobby accidentally burned the Malfoys' dinner, leading to severe punishment. Dobby's next desperate bid to protect Harry from the Chamber of Secrets came during Harry's Quidditch match. During the match, Dobby enchanted a bludger, hoping it would cause him harm and force him to return to Privet Drive, thereby avoiding the chamber. His plan was partially successful in that the bludger injured Harry, breaking his arm, but it was nothing that couldn't be fixed in Hogwarts Hospital Wing. Under normal circumstances, Madame Pomfrey would have been able to quickly mend Harry's injuries. However, due to a mistake by Gilderoy Lockhart, all the bones in Harry's right arm disappeared. It took the entire night for Madame Pomfrey to regrow the missing bones using Skelegro. During Harry's recovery in the hospital wing, Dobby made an appearance and confessed to both blocking the entrance to platform 9 3/4 and bewitching the bludger. Harry did not take kindly to this news and subsequently threatened to strangle Dobby. A bit extreme, if you ask me. "You nearly got Ron and me expelled," he said fiercely. "You'd better clear off before my bones come, Dobby, or I might strangle you." And in this same moment, Dobby accidentally revealed to Harry that the Chamber of Secrets had been opened before. Intrigued, Harry demanded to know who had opened it previously, but Dobby refused to divulge any more information. He then disapparated when he heard someone approaching. Towards the end of Harry's second year, Lucius Malfoy arrives at Hogwarts with Dobby. On this same occasion, Harry outwits Lucius, Dobby's master, by hiding Tom Riddle's diary inside one of his socks. When Lucius rips off the sock and throws it, Dobby catches it and claims it as his own, which effectively fulfills the conditions for his freedom as a house elf. However, as you might expect, Lucius wasn't pleased. Lucius Malfoy stood frozen, staring at the elf. Then he lunged at Harry. "You've lost me my servant, boy." But Dobby shouted, "You shall not harm Harry Potter." There was a loud bang, and Mr. Malfoy was thrown backward. In retaliation, Lucius ends up trying to attack Harry, prompting Dobby to use powerful magic to blast him backward down a flight of stairs, although I suspect that he was probably actually targeting Dobby. Grateful for his newfound freedom, Dobby bids farewell to Harry and leaves Hogwarts, eager to start a new life as a free elf. Harry's only condition for granting Dobby his freedom was that Dobby should never attempt to save his life again. After obtaining his freedom, Dobby next set his sights on finding paid work. However, he faced some difficulty as it was unusual for house elves to seek employment. However, eventually, Dobby's luck turned around when he was hired by Albus Dumbledore to work in the Hogwarts kitchens alongside other house elves. Professor Dumbledore offered Dobby 10 galleons a week and weekends off, but Dobby beat him down, miss. Dobby likes freedom, miss, but he isn't wanting too much, miss. He likes work better. In contrast, another house elf named Winky did not embrace this new lifestyle after being granted her freedom. When Dumbledore hired Winky following her release from her master, Barty Crouch, her reaction to being freed was devastating. She perceived it as punishment and a disgraceful mark of failure, as is common among house elves. Because of this, Winky resorted to consuming excessive amounts of butterbeer, and Dobby commonly took on the responsibility of caring for her during these episodes. At one point, Dobby became the only Hogwarts house elf responsible for cleaning Gryffindor Tower, as Hermione had concealed knitted hats and socks in the trash with the intention of setting the Hogwarts house elves free. Not long before this, Hermione had started the Society for the Promotion of Elfish Welfare, SPEW, in response to the perceived mistreatment and injustices faced by house elves in the wizarding world. However, her plans didn't go exactly according to plan. In response to hiding garments in the Gryffindor Tower, the Hogwarts house elves instead declined to clean the common room, deeming the hidden garments to be offensive. One day, Ron and Hermione accompanied Harry as they ventured down to the kitchens, where they encountered Dobby. Excited, Dobby rushed over to Harry and embraced him, still wearing the sock that had freed him. At the same time, Dobby informs the trio that he was saving up his wages to purchase a jumper. In response to this, Ron makes a promise to Dobby that he will give him a Christmas jumper made by his mother. Before they leave, Dobby timidly asks Harry if he can visit him, beaming with joy when Harry agrees. A few months later, Dobby surprises Harry by visiting his dorm on Christmas morning, sitting so close that they were practically nose to nose, and startles Harry awake. Harry then gives Dobby a pair of socks for Christmas, explaining that the shop made a mistake by providing 2 identical pairs. Ron also presents Dobby with a pair of socks, delighting Dobby, who joyfully mixes them up. Ron also fulfills his earlier promise by gifting Dobby the jumper. Dobby then departs to prepare Christmas dinner with the other house elves. During Harry's time in the Triwizard Tournament, one of his tasks required him to breathe underwater for an extended duration. With no solution in sight, Dobby overheard a conversation between McGonagall and Moody discussing methods of prolonged underwater breathing, including the use of gillyweed. Acting swiftly, Dobby broke into Snape's office, stole a ball of gillyweed, and rushed to the library to wake Harry, who had fallen asleep while searching for a solution. With only 10 minutes remaining until the task, Dobby handed Harry the gillyweed and instructed him to consume it before diving underwater. Thanks to Dobby's assistance, Harry successfully completed the task. Throughout his tenure at Hogwarts, Dobby developed a meaningful friendship with Aberforth Dumbledore, and frequently visited Aberforth's residence in Hogsmeade. Aberforth displayed a strong connection to Dobby, and was profoundly sad upon hearing of Dobby's passing. In 1995, when Dolores Umbridge banned all clubs at Hogwarts, Harry turned to Dobby and asked if he had any information on a secret meeting place for Dumbledore's army. Dobby then told Harry about the existence of the Room of Requirement and how to gain access to it, as he had used the room himself to hide Winky after she got drunk on butterbeer. Because of this information, Harry was able to access the room and start holding Dumbledore's army meetings. Dobby also helped Harry out yet again when he informed Harry about Dolores Umbridge's discovery of Dumbledore's army after overhearing Marietta Edgecombe betray the group. His loyalty to Harry and his independence as a free elf motivated him to defy Umbridge. Next, Harry tasked Dobby with spying on and trailing Draco Malfoy, whom he suspected was up to no good. "I want you to tail Draco Malfoy. I want to know where he's going, who he's meeting, and what he's doing. I want you to follow him around the clock." "Yes, Harry Potter. And if Dobby does it wrong, Dobby will throw himself off the topmost tower, Harry Potter." And so Dobby, along with Kreacher, the former house elf of the House of Black, who now served Harry, shadowed Draco Malfoy and helped Harry to discover that Draco was utilizing the Room of Requirement. However, Kreacher, who did not respect Harry at this time, derided and belittled him, claiming that Draco would make a superior master. In response to this, a physical altercation between Dobby and Kreacher ensued, resulting in Kreacher losing several teeth. Tearfully, Dobby expressed to Kreacher that Harry was an exceptional wizard and that the Malfoys were not suitable masters for a house elf. Dobby considered it an honor to assist Harry. The next major incident involving Dobby was when Harry, Ron, Hermione, Dean Thomas, and the Goblin Griphook were forcibly taken to Malfoy Manor by the Snatchers. It was here where Bellatrix subjected Hermione to torture, and Harry, Ron, and a few others, including Luna Lovegood, Ollivander, Dean Thomas, and Griphook, were confined in a cell specifically designed to prevent any magical operation or disapparition. As desperate cries for help echoed from Hermione, Harry retrieved a fragment of a two-way mirror that had been a gift from his late godfather, Sirius Black, and used it to connect with Aberforth, who promptly dispatched Dobby, the elf, to aid them. However, when Dobby arrived, it was very hard for him to process everything because he found himself once again in the home of his old masters. Dobby's enormous tennis ball-shaped eyes were wide. He was trembling from his feet to the tips of his ears. He was back in the home of his old masters, and it was clear that he was petrified. Returning to the Malfoy Manor required just as much courage as any worthy Gryffindor, and it served as a testament to just how far Dobby would go to help Harry. Upon Dobby's arrival, Harry directed him to transport the others to Bill Weasley's residence at Shell Cottage before returning to Malfoy Manor. Meanwhile, Harry and Ron engaged in a tense confrontation with Bellatrix, Greyback, and a group of Snatchers upstairs. In a moment of despair, as Bellatrix threatened Hermione with a knife, Harry and Ron surrendered their wands. However, the situation took an unexpected turn when Dobby intervened by releasing a chandelier, forcing Bellatrix to release Hermione and creating chaos in the house. At the last word, there was a peculiar grinding noise from above. All of them looked upward in time to see the crystal chandelier tremble. Then, with a creak and an ominous jingling, it began to fall. Bellatrix was directly beneath it. Dropping Hermione, she threw herself aside with a scream. The chandelier crashed to the floor in an explosion of crystal and chains. As Narcissa dragged Draco out of the way of further harm, Bellatrix sprang to her feet, her hair flying as she brandished the silver knife. But Narcissa had directed her wand at the doorway. "Dobby!" she screamed, and even Bellatrix froze. "You? You dropped the chandelier?" The tiny elf trotted into the room, his shaking finger pointing at his old mistress. "You must not hurt Harry Potter," he squeaked. But Dobby didn't stop at dropping the chandelier. He also stripped them of their wands. "Kill him, sissy," shrieked Bellatrix. But there was another loud crack, and Narcissa's wand too flew into the air and landed on the other side of the room. "You dirty little monkey," bawled Bellatrix. "How dare you take a witch's wand? How dare you defy your masters?" "Dobby has no master," squealed the elf. "Dobby is a free elf, and Dobby has come to save Harry Potter and his friends." Though Dobby was filled with more fear than he could have ever imagined, he still stood his ground in the face of his former masters. Not only was this his opportunity to save his friends, but it was a chance for him to declare his independence in front of the people that enslaved him for so many years. It was heroism exhibited in its purest, noblest form. Tragically, however, standing up to the people that mistreated him for so many years ended up being one of the last things Dobby ever did, for his death was near. Hoisting the groaning goblin, who still clung to the sword over one shoulder, Harry seized Dobby's hand and spun on the spot to disapparate. As he turned into darkness, he caught one last view of the drawing room of the pale, frozen figures of Narcissa and Draco, of the streak of red that was Ron's hair, and a blue of flying silver, as Bellatrix's knife flew across the room at the place where he was vanishing. And what happened next was truly heartbreaking, as Harry noticed that, though they were able to apparate out of Malfoy Manor, the knife that Bellatrix had thrown apparated with them, striking Dobby. Upon arriving at Shell Cottage, Harry noticed the silver hilt of the knife protruding from the elf's chest as they shared a moment together. "Dobby!" The elf swayed slightly, stars reflected in his wide, shining eyes. Together, he and Harry looked down at the silver hilt of the knife protruding from the elf's heaving chest. "Dobby, no, help!" Harry bellowed toward the cottage, toward the people moving there. "Help!" He did not know or care whether they were wizards or muggles, friends or foes. All he cared about was that a dark stain was spreading across Dobby's front, and that he had stretched out his own arms to Harry with a look of supplication. Harry caught him and laid him sideways on the cool grass. "Dobby, no! Don't die! Don't die!" The elf's eyes found him, and his lips trembled with the effort to form words. "Harry Potter." And then, with a little shudder, the elf became quite still, and his eyes were nothing more than great glassy orbs, sprinkled with light from the stars they could not see. The Harry Potter series certainly doesn't shy away from characters dying, but I will say this: Dobby's death was one of the most significant. The actions he took to save Harry and his friends exhibited a level of bravery shown by almost no other character in the series, and I think that it's a shame that the films failed to emphasize this. It was a disservice to his character, as Dobby made the ultimate sacrifice to make sure that his friends were safe. If there's one thing that we can take away from Dobby's death, book or film, it's that heroes come in all shapes and sizes. Dobby, the tiny, formerly enslaved house elf, defied some of the most powerful Death Eaters in the wizarding world, saving the lives of his friends and helping to secure the future of the wizarding world. Deeply mourning the loss of Dobby, Harry made the heartfelt decision to bury the loyal elf with his own hands, eschewing the use of magic. Ron and Dean joined Harry in the solemn task of digging the grave, where they tenderly placed Dobby's body, dressing him in a jacket and adorning him with socks, shoes, and a hat. Luna, standing over Dobby, gently bid farewell, expressing gratitude for his bravery in rescuing her and the others. Bill Weasley proceeded to fill the grave as Harry, utilizing Draco's former wand, carefully inscribed, "Here lies Dobby, a free elf," on a stone placed atop the burial site. After Dobby's heroic sacrifice and untimely death, his life continued to have a profound impact on those who had known him. Harry and his friends mourned the loss of their loyal and brave friend, recognizing his unwavering devotion and selflessness. Dobby's sacrifice served as a catalyst for Harry and his allies to fight even harder against Voldemort and his forces. The memory of Dobby's unwavering loyalty and his determination to protect and help others became a source of inspiration for Harry and his friends as they faced the challenges ahead. Dobby's legacy lived on through their actions, reminding them of the importance of compassion, bravery, and standing up for what is right, even in the face of adversity. Rest in peace, Dobby. And that's it for this video. Hopefully you learned a little more about the history of our favorite house elf companion. If you enjoy the content, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Until next time, remember, it does not do to dwell on dreams and forget to live.